It's so crazy. Like once I realized that life was giving me the exact same situation over and over, I was like, oh my God, it has been me the entire time. And first you have this shock, right? Like, oh my God, I'm so stupid.
But then you realize that if it has been you, you have the power to change it.
Exactly. That's the thing. You have the power to change it. That's the good thing. Like sometimes we are so scared of facing the truth, but the truth will set you free, even if it hurts,
Exactly.
even if it's like you know, painful, even if your ego doesn't like it. Then you have the power, and you can change it.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us at Chai with Us podcast. Today we're on episode 16, Triggers. I'm Ivana from Okolo Isabel's.
And I am Erica, the personal developer. And today, like always, we're drinking a cup of tea. And since it's very hot here in Tenerife, where I live, I am drinking an iced tea, and it's pina colada.
I'm also drinking an iced tea, but it's citrus.
Okay, it goes with the pina colada. I just love saying that.
Yes, that's the only way to say it.
Yeah, true story. Yeah, so today we're talking about triggers. So for everybody to know what we're talking about, triggers are basically an event that causes a situation to start, or something that can cause you a reaction. Triggers can be positive or negative, but usually when we're talking about triggers, they're
Mm-hmm.
usually something that are not very positive for us in our lives, because
Mm-hmm.
most of the times they cause us to have some reactions that we really want to avoid. So that's what we're talking about today, and maybe a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about positive triggers, because I like positive triggers as well.
Okay.
So Ivana, do you want to I'm curious, what are your triggers? What
One
triggers
of my
you?
biggest trigger is when people talk badly about India. I just get so upset.
Really?
Yes, especially people that have never visited that country that keep telling you like, oh, it's so dangerous if you're a woman traveling there. You're going to get raped. You're going to get killed. Like horrible things that people say that have never even been to the country that don't know anything about it. And so I just get so upset when people start talking badly about it
And why does that trigger you so much? What do you know?
because I love India so much. And to me, it's like they've never been to visit it, or maybe they have visited, and so they don't. I don't know why. I really don't know why it's such a big trigger for me, but it is. And I'm trying to work on it, and it's hard because
Yeah,
I feel like it's so deep.
yeah, I was about to ask you, like, would you like to change this trigger? Because it just looks like you're trying to defend something that you are like you believe in, and that you know from a fact that it's not like people
Yeah.
say, So what would you like to change? Like the way you respond to people?
I would just not, it's not even the way that I respond to people. It's how I feel internally. That's what I would want to change because I feel like I just get so upset and then I get a stomach ache.
Uh-huh.
And so because it's like, that's what my gut is. And then I feel sad. And so then my heart is sad.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But
That's
like
one of my biggest ones. Yeah.
I don't like when people talk about things that they don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, especially when you travel and you go to different countries, and sometimes like I like to go to countries where I have like a cultural shock.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
usually people don't like where I'm going. They would say
Mhm.
like, oh, I would never go there. It's just like horrible,
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm
dirty.
talking about.
You're gonna get raped. Have you heard about the news? They no, okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
but my response is usually, I mean, you don't know, what are you talking about? That's your idea, my
That is the
idea.
same too, but I still feel internally, I still feel unwell, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that you have been to India so many times that for you it's kind of personal,
Yeah, it is.
right? For me, it's just like I've been there once. It was really cool, but for you, maybe it's more personal because
Hmm.
you are a little bit like you are from India, because you spent so much time over there. But it's true, you kind of blend in the
Yes,
culture and
I've been there a long time,
everything.
and I've been
Yeah.
I think 9 times now if you count the amount of
Whoa.
visits.
You see? Okay, so you're half Indian right now. From now on, you're half Indian. So I hope Indian people don't mind. She's nice. She's cool. For me, biggest triggers screaming and yelling.
Is
I
what?
just screaming,
Oh, yes. Okay.
yelling. I don't care
Yes.
if it's not at me, if it's at other people. I get very stressed
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
my heart starts like racing. And
Mhm.
it got to a point where if I hear like people screaming for some reason,
Mhm. Mhm.
if I'm at home by myself, I would like
Mhm.
try
Yeah.
to listen if everything is okay. So that's
Mhm.
really triggering for me. And I just wish I would like calm down a little bit. But
Mhm.
like but then it's like it comes from a feeling of I lived in a house where I
Mhm.
was being like, abused, and
Mhm.
I probably screamed and shouted and nobody helped me.
Yeah.
So it's more like that's a trigger because I was
Mhm.
shouted also,
Mhm.
but it's also like what if someone needs my help and I can't? So it's a very
Yeah.
strong trigger. It's very like deep rooted in
Mhm.
in my
Yes.
in my existence.
So for me, another trigger would be like watching parents that are hitting their children
Oh
or
no. Oh,
or
I
abusing their
couldn't.
children.
I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
I would be feeling bad for like a week like this or
Mhm.
something like that because that's very triggering for me for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Some
Yeah.
work that I did when I was an attorney was I worked as a guardian ad litem, which means that the court appointed me as an officer to do an investigation in kids that were abused in their homes. And so then I would write a report about whether the kid should be removed from the home or whether
Yeah.
like, what should happen. And that was always really difficult because you get so emotionally involved with the
Hmm.
cases.
I can imagine. That's so wow. That's very hardcore, I
Mhm.
would say. So yeah, so as you see, Ivana has triggers, I have triggers. Some of my triggers are even that deep, just just normal triggers, things that I don't like. But I think it's good to start in like in a vulnerable way, so you can
Mhm.
see that it's like it is what it is, and there are certain things that you can do.
Mhm.
And the first of the things that you can do to deal with triggers is just acknowledge the trigger because
Yes.
you know if something happens often and you feel a certain way, then just realize that it's a trigger. Once
Mhm.
you can't unknow, you can unknow. We all know that. So there's something you can do in regards to
What
that
can you
trigger.
do if you're experiencing a trigger? Like, what do you do?
Okay, so first of all, I think that most of the work is done outside the trigger.
Okay.
You cannot fight a trigger while you are being triggered.
Mhm.
It's very
Mhm.
difficult. You can do that, but once you have done some emotional work and development first, right?
Mhm.
I have some relationships with a few people that it doesn't matter what they say, for me, it was triggering. Everything was triggering. I was like, everything was triggering until
Yes,
I
I know
got
what
to
you
a
mean.
point, right? And like I work on myself, and now I can talk to them and see my trigger come. And I say, calm
Mhm.
down. Here's what you're going to do and how to respond, right? But
Mhm.
I think that you have to work on the triggers um, before, not when the trigger is happening, maybe after the trigger was
After,
happening.
yeah.
And even if you think that there is a situation when you are going to get triggered, then you can work on the situation. I think the best way is just act when you are okay, so you
Mhm.
can rationalize it, process it, see the situation a little bit from afar. Because
Okay.
when you are getting triggered, it's very very hard. It's
Yeah.
possible.
Because you want to respond.
Exactly, but the trigger is something like when you shot a gun. It's not like the bullet is going like this, The
Right,
bullet does like
exactly.
pow, and there you go. That's what happens with the trigger. You're like,
Yes.
you clicked. You don't have time to think unless you
Mhm.
do your work. So
Mhm.
a few things that people can say. I have a little bit of notes over here. Um, there's a few things you can do. So one of the things is to write down a message for your future self. Okay,
Okay.
if it's a situation where you have the possibility to have to read something that you wrote for yourself,
Mhm.
then you can do so. If you, it can be something like, remember that you are loved and safe, I don't know. This is
Mm-hmm.
totally personal and this is totally up to you. You know, think about something that you would love to hear in the situation that will make you
Mm-hmm.
come back to,
Okay.
planet Earth and don't
Yeah.
be right there with trigger. Something that would take you here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something that would help you ground yourself. A good thing to do after you get triggered and you calm down and just decide what you are going to do next time. And if you
Yes.
have the possibility, just rehearse. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? Just look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Next time this happens, here's what I'm gonna do. But like decide it for real. Don't say like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, next time we speak, I'm gonna do this. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Today was not a good time. Next time, no, no, no. Just sit down, have a real conversation with yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
decide what you're gonna do next time. Maybe don't decide something like I will tell them this, and that. Just decide to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, this person is coming at me. You know what? Next time I'm gonna breathe, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you calm down and you
That's what
can
I
do
would
it.
add is to practice the pause and take a few deep breaths and realize and ask yourself, is this person picking on me? Because sometimes people are looking to get a rise out of you. And
Okay.
they're saying the triggers on purpose because some people
Mhm.
really get off on having other people like being in an argument with other people. Like that's what it makes them feel better about themselves. So like
Mhm.
ask yourself, do I want to participate in this exchange?
Yeah. I would say so. And I would also say, like, think about why you're getting triggered.
Mhm.
Where is the source? Where's the source of it? Because if some people do this for fun, as you said, like some people come
Mhm.
at you for fun, but why are you getting into this conversation?
Mhm.
Why are you engaging in this? Because it takes two people. Sometimes the
Exactly.
situation is really tough and all that. I know that from experience, believe me. But it takes two people. We're talking about two
Exactly.
adults, it takes two people. So,
Mhm.
what's the source of the trigger? Do you feel insecure? Work on
Mhm.
your self confidence. Do you feel scared? Is your security threatened? Get out of the situation. Look
Mhm.
for the source of it and just and then act on it.
Yeah.
It's very important that you know, like, where is this coming from? You really need to know
Mhm.
where is this coming from and be honest with yourself. And there's a lot of work to do with the triggers because it's so connected with our past, right?
Yes.
Some of us, we never sat down and
Mhm.
thought about the past and everything that we have been
Mhm.
through.
And
So,
sometimes we don't even know what a trigger is until it happens, and
oh
then you're in it.
yes, yes. Sometimes you are surprised. Sometimes trigger comes and like surprise.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, and this work is like a lifetime work because
Mhm.
there's always something new. Sometimes I'm like, I'm over this. And
And
then
then it
the
happens.
situation comes and you're like, okay, maybe I
That
need
is
some
so
journaling,
true.
right?
I love that you just said that because that is so true. Like you think you've mastered it, and then someone says something, and you're like right back there, like where you were.
Yeah, it happens. And when this happens to me, it's because I haven't been grounding myself. I haven't been, meditating as I should.
Mhm.
That's when I'm improvising. That's when this kind of stuff happen. But like, it's the importance of grounding techniques, and we spoke
Yes.
about it so many times. But yeah, but life happens, and if you are facing your triggers right now, just know that it's going to take some time and
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to be surprised because that's it, like in life you live and you learn
Yeah.
eternally, so
And
things are
sometimes
going to
I feel
happen.
like you're going to be presented with the same lesson, maybe with through different people over and over
Oh,
again until you've mastered the
oh,
lesson.
totally life will hit you in the face until you
Mhm.
understand and you do the right thing
Mhm.
for you,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
That's so
I think
true.
it's so much of like wanting to change other people's like thoughts or beliefs that triggers us. Like, well, why do you believe that? Like, how can I help you like not believe that?
What do you mean?
Does
Can
that
you
make any
elaborate on that?
Well, for me, for example, like let's say the trigger is India. I get upset because I know that India is like a magical country and I've had such amazing experiences there. So I want the person that's triggering me to see that as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to like, show them a better image of India than what they believe to be true.
All right. So yeah, sometimes, well, a lot of time happens because we live. Sometimes we act from our ego. So
Yes.
that's when this type of situations come to surface because like it's not. It's like they're attacking you. It's like
Mhm.
you know, and
Mhm.
and it's not real. That's a good thing to do. Ask yourself: is it real? What
Yes,
I'm
that's a good
feeling
one.
right now, is it real? What
Mhm.
do I believe? What is really happening? Because
Mhm.
sometimes the situation triggers us, and it is not even remotely like the same as we're thinking, right?
Yes.
So
And
it's
most of the time, the people that triggers us are the people that are closest to us.
ooh, yes, they have the power. They have got the power.
Because they know how to pick on you. You know what I mean? Like they know how to push certain buttons.
Yeah, but it's also sometimes it's also us.
Yes.
It affects us more. Like I don't care if Joaquin comes here and tell me, Erica, you suck. But like
Mhm.
if my brother tells me I suck, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and with close people, we always act different. We are
Mhm.
more vulnerable. Of course,
Yes.
they know, but sometimes they don't even know that they are triggering us. They're just being
That's true too.
themselves, and them being themselves sometimes triggers us, and that's something that we should think about.
Mhm.
Because I had to think about this, and it's really funny because I kind of fixed one relationship that I had with a person, and I was talking to my boyfriend the other day. I'm like, oh, she's different. Oh, she's different. But like, uh, 70% of the reason that the relationship improved is because I am different with her as well.
Mhm.
I am not waiting for her to be who I want her to be. I
Mhm.
just accept that she is who she is, and that made everything different. And now she's
Mhm.
acting different. It's true, she's saying some different stuff, and I'm like
Mhm.
surprised. But I changed as well. I
Yeah.
had to change as well. So sometimes, yeah, people trigger us, and sometimes we just let this trigger be there forever and do nothing about it.
Mhm. Mhm. That's
It's a
true too.
mind shift.
I like what you said. You accepted the way that she was instead of the person
Mhm.
that you wanted her to be.
Yeah, it's just basically what you were saying.
Mhm.
Because sometimes but it's all about letting go of your ego.
Yes.
When you want people to say what you want to say, what you want them to say in the way that you like, the specific tone. I mean, that's not real life. That's not real
Mhm.
relationships. Of course, you shouldn't allow people to offend you. But
Mhm.
some people communicate in a certain way, and that's
Exactly.
it. And that's it. And sometimes if you are triggered, and have you noticed that a lot of times when you're triggered, you get triggered because you know it's true?
Yeah. Mhm.
And like we're like, oh, triggers are so bad and everything. Like when someone tells you something once, and then the other person tells you the same thing, and then just
Mhm.
think about it. And when you trigger with, it has a lot to. Now that I'm
Mm.
thinking about it, sometimes is like we don't want to change.
Exactly. Yeah.
And truth hurts sometimes, and it triggers because it's true. Have you
Mhm.
felt this, punch in the stomach when someone tells you something and you're like, oh damn, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that was totally wrong what I've done,
Mhm.
and you don't want to believe it, and it's so, and
Or
feel that
maybe
it's,
sometimes when we're being criticized,
oh
that's a
yes,
big one.
yeah, that's a big one. And
Mhm.
again, go back to why do you feel like that? Because if
Mhm.
you're cool, if you're living life, if you are happy, if you did the right thing, if you feel that you are enough, someone will criticize, and if it's valid, you're gonna say, okay,
Mhm.
I can work on that. And if it's not okay, you're gonna say, whatever, that's not who I am.
Mhm.
Cool, bye.
I think it takes a lot of work to get there to be like, no, that's not who I am.
Yes, yes, it takes a
Mhm.
lot of work. And even if you do the work, you're
Mhm.
human. You're
Mhm.
human. Eventually things can get to you. And
Yeah.
it's totally normal. But to be conscious about it, like just
Mhm.
think about it. and just analyze and have some self-awareness.
hmm I think journaling helps so much with this because, like, right now I've been like reading my journals from 2 years ago, and I notice how much I've changed as a person, how much like the different triggers have changed too.
Yeah, it's totally right. I bought a journal today. I miss
Okay.
journaling. I have been writing so many things, just
hmm
blogs, blog posts, and for the book
Yeah.
and everything. And I need to write for myself a little bit,
Yes.
from me to me, and write. That helps a lot with triggers
hmm
because if you write down the situation, what happened, just write down what happened. Then you're going to realize that maybe you had something to do with it. Maybe,
Right.
you're going to look at the situation with other eyes. So, yeah, journaling is a really cool thing to do
hmm
as well. I love
And
it.
it's nice to see how much you've grown, like how much like the situation, because you're going to get presented with the same situation over and over again. And it's nice
Mhm.
to see that you've started to change how you react to it.
Yeah. And then you are presented with the situation again and you say, like, you know what? I've learned my lesson. Bye bye. And that's so empowering, right?
It is,
When that happens
especially
to
because you
you.
feel good on the inside.
Yeah, and you're like, you know what? I grew up. I grew up a
hmm
little bit, like I know better right now, and I know that I can
Yeah.
do better than this, and it's cool.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like you're going through the day and people are coming and poking you. You know what I mean? Until like you respond. And so it's amazing when you don't respond, you can get through the whole day without it.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's just going to get to you.
it's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true. And I love this, and it's so crazy. Like once I realized that life was giving me the exact same situation over and over, I was like, oh my god, it has been me the entire time. And first you have this shock, right? Like, oh my god, I'm so stupid.
But then you realize that if it has been you, you have the power to change it.
Exactly. That's the thing. You have the power to change it. That's the good thing. Like sometimes we are so scared of facing the truth, but the truth will set you free, even if it hurts,
Exactly.
even if it's like, painful, even if your ego doesn't like it. Then you have the power, and you can change it. That's the
Mhm.
beauty of
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
Mhm. And we don't realize how like some of these triggers happened in the past, and it's because we're remembering the past, that's why we're being triggered. So this
Yeah.
example comes from the Untethered Soul, and it's a man and a woman, their boyfriend and girlfriend. They're driving in a car, and all of a sudden a red car drives by, and the man remembers his old ex-girlfriend, and she cheated on him with a guy who owned a red car. And so all of a sudden he starts getting into an argument with his current girlfriend without even realizing that he was triggered. So
Mhm.
just watching the car drive by made him remember a situation where someone had cheated on him. And even though this current girlfriend is not cheating on him, he starts to pick a fight over something stupid with her because he's being triggered, but he doesn't even realize where it's coming from.
Mhm.
So I think, sometimes we can get triggered without even realizing that that's what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why meditation and silent moments are so necessary, because those kind of practices, they make you stay so in tune with yourself that
Mhm.
when something happens and when there is a change in your mood, in you feel it,
Mhm.
and then you can like point out, because when you are feeling uneasy or something, usually it's because due to something, right? It
Mhm.
may be
Mhm.
small, but it's due to something. So when you have grounding practices and everything, and you're connected with yourself, it's easier to point out. And
Yeah.
triggers are very tricky because perfume, music, colors,
Mhm.
seasons of the year. On one episode, I was talking about Christmas. Like,
Mhm. Yes.
I was seeing Santa Claus and hating on Santa Claus. I mean, where did that come, came from? And then my boyfriend was like, listen, so that's,
Mhm.
how was Christmas? Yeah, so
Mhm.
I was just criticizing the decoration and everything, like a tasteful person that I am,
Mhm.
and you know what, I was getting pretty triggered,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of balls to recognize that it's not Santa Claus' fault, it's about my
Mhm.
shitty
Mhm.
childhood
Mhm.
fault. It's hard to understand, but to admit. But then once you
Yeah.
understand, you're like, it's like a weight comes out of you,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you don't feel like, when you are acting like that, you kind of feel that you are like a misfit or something is wrong with you,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
why are you acting it's a little bit
I know what
confusing.
you mean.
So when you know where is this coming from, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this is totally justified. That's why.
Mhm.
And then you change it.
I did this workshop once, and when we all had to talk to our inner child, and we had the piece of paper, we got to write down how old we were. We got to draw an image, and then we had to, like, what was your name? And then we had to think about an experience that, happened to us when we were like young kids that affected us badly. And then, that was a really good exercise because we got to draw, and then we got to hug our inner child and tell them that everything is going to be okay. So there's
Hmm.
different things that you can do to help you with these triggers. And a lot of these triggers will come from your childhood when you didn't even realize that you're being triggered.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. One thing that helps me a lot, and it took me a decade to be able to do it, is to talk to close people about my
Mhm.
triggers.
Mhm.
Like close people need to know where I come from, what happened
Mhm.
to me. I don't need to give you a lot of details, but
Mhm.
I need to tell you where I come
Mhm.
from. And
Yeah.
because I may be triggered with something that you find it's okay, you know?
Mhm.
If I'm watching a series with people being physically abused,
Mhm.
maybe I'm not enjoying that so much. Maybe that's not
Right.
the type of series for me to watch. And
Mhm.
there are certain things that people do innocently and that can
Mhm.
cause me harm. So
Mhm.
if I tell the person like, listen, please don't do this, like,
Yeah, like what you're talking about with the belt last time,
yeah, with
playing
something
with
with
the
the
belt.
belt or like, I don't know, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think it's totally okay to tell because this is a behavior. It's not like you are telling the person to change. It's just telling
Right.
the person, look, this is not funny because,
And that's really good that you're doing that because it takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to do that.
yeah, yeah. And people who love you, they appreciate it
Mhm.
because they don't want to hurt you. So if you
Exactly.
let them know the truth and like instead of being in what would happen is that I would be in a corner, not
Mhm.
telling anything, feeling very uncomfortable, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden I shut down. The person doesn't know where I am. Like,
Mhm.
what's the point? I'm not having a real relationship if I'm not vulnerable and talk about those
Right.
things. So really talk to your close people. They don't want
Mhm.
you to be unhappy. So if something triggers you, then just tell this person, you know what, that thing triggered me. Or
Yeah.
if you were triggered and you're having a bad time, like you're not feeling
Mhm.
okay, you know what, I'm working on something. Sorry if I'm not very present today.
Mhm.
That's it. You don't need to tell the
Mhm.
whole story, but you need to tell something. And I'm
Right.
telling you this like from experience, from my own
Mhm.
experience. It's freeing and you can be yourself. And
Mhm.
seriously, nobody's going to judge you for something
Mhm.
that someone has done to you that was
Mhm.
wrong. So
Yeah,
I hope
that's
this
true.
inspires you to do something and to speak up and to
Yeah.
because it changed my life. I'm way
Mhm.
happier and there's nothing wrong with
Mhm.
it. It's pretty cool.
The other thing you can do too is if you always know that a person is always triggering you, maybe if it's possible, start limiting your interaction with this person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Check yourself first and
Yeah.
then sometimes it isn't you. Sometimes it's the other person. So
Mhm.
let the person go or reduce the time
Right.
as Ivana was saying. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Do we have anything else that we want to talk about?
Um, no, I don't think so.
So we would like to know from our audiences, is there any time where you have felt triggered? And what was the situation? How did you handle it? What did you do about it? Did you recognize that it was a trigger or was it something else from your past?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I love the questions. Just write down an email if you would like to chat with us, podcast@gmail.com, or let us know in the comments. If you love this episode and think it was useful for you, share, like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe and click the notifications button so you can know every time when we release something
Mhm.
new. And that's
Yes.
it. See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.